clock on the wall showed 8:47 p.m. when Marcus Sterling stepped out of the elevator on the 42nd floor. The Sterling Industries headquarters was nearly empty at this hour, with only the faint hum of computers and the occasional flicker of desk lamps breaking the silence. Marcus had returned to retrieve some documents he'd forgotten in the rush of back-to-back meetings that had consumed his entire day. As he walked through the dimmed corridors, his footsteps muffled by the plush carpet, he heard something unexpected. A soft sobbing sound drifted from one of the offices near his executive suite. Marcus paused, his hand hovering over the door handle to his office. He wasn't the type to involve himself in employee drama, having built his billion-dollar empire on the principle of maintaining professional distance. Yet something about the sound of genuine distress made him hesitate. The crying was coming from Sofia Martinez's office. She had been his executive assistant for the past 18 months, and in that time she had proven herself to be exceptionally capable, organized, and unfailingly professional. Marcus had noticed her quiet efficiency, the way she anticipated his needs before he voiced them, and her remarkable ability to manage the chaos that came with running a global corporation. But he realized with a pang of guilt that he knew almost nothing about her personal life. He stood outside her door, debating whether to walk away and pretend he hadn't heard anything. It would be easier, cleaner, more in line with the emotional barriers he'd carefully constructed over the years. But the sound of her crying, raw and heartbroken, stirred something in him that he'd thought long buried beneath layers of business decisions and profit margins. Marcus knocked gently on the door. The crying stopped abruptly, followed by a shuffling sound and a shaky voice calling out, "Who is it?" "It's Marcus," he replied, using his first name rather than the formal title she always employed. "May I come in?" There was a long pause before she responded. "Mr. Sterling, I'm sorry, I didn't realize anyone was still here. Give me just a moment, Sophia, please. I'd like to come in." When she finally opened the door, Marcus felt his chest tighten at the sight before him. Sophia's usually immaculate appearance was disheveled. Her dark hair had escaped from its professional bun, falling in waves around her shoulders. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying, and mascara had left faint tracks down her cheeks. She clutched a damp tissue in her hand and tried desperately to compose herself, but her trembling lips betrayed her emotional state. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Sterling," she began, her voice cracking. "I thought everyone had left. I'll gather my things and go home right away. This is completely unprofessional." Marcus stepped into her office and closed the door behind him. "Sophia, stop apologizing. What happened? Are you all right?" She turned away from him, wiping at her face with the tissue. "It's nothing really, just a personal matter. It won't affect my work, I promise." "I'm not asking as your boss," Marcus said quietly, surprising himself with his own words. "I'm asking as someone who is concerned. Please sit down." Sophia looked at him with confusion and vulnerability in her eyes. After a moment's hesitation, she sank into her desk chair. Marcus pulled up another chair and sat across from her, maintaining a respectful distance but close enough to show he was genuinely present. "I don't know where to start," Sophia whispered, fresh tears welling up in her eyes. "Start anywhere," Marcus encouraged. "I have all night." The words seemed to unlock something in her, and the story began to pour out. Sophia explained how her younger brother, Miguel, had been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer 6 months ago. She had been quietly managing his medical care while maintaining her demanding job, not wanting to burden anyone with her problems or appear weak in the competitive corporate environment. Her mother, who lived in another state, was elderly and unable to help much beyond emotional support. "The treatments are experimental and not covered by insurance," Sophia continued, her voice breaking. "I've been trying to cover the costs, but today I found out they need to increase the frequency of treatments. I've already depleted my savings, taken out loans, and I still don't have enough. The doctors say without continuing the treatment plan, his chances of survival drop significantly." Marcus listened intently, his usual stoic expression softening with each word. He thought about his own life, insulated by wealth and privilege, and realized how little he knew about the struggles his employees faced beyond the walls of his company. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked gently. "We have employee assistance programs, benefits that could help." Sophia shook her head. "I looked into all of that. The experimental nature of the treatment means it doesn't qualify, and I couldn't bring my personal problems to you, Mr. Sterling. You have an entire corporation to run. My job is to make your life easier, not complicate it with my family issues." Marcus felt something shift inside him. Here was a woman who had been silently carrying an enormous burden, never once letting it show in her work. She had organized his life with precision and dedication, while her own world was falling apart. The realization humbled him in a way nothing had in years. "How old is Miguel?" Marcus asked. "He just turned 23 last month," Sophia replied, a sad smile crossing her face. "He's studying engineering, or he was before the diagnosis. He's so bright, so full of potential. He wants to design sustainable energy systems to help communities in need. This disease, it's stealing his future before he even gets a chance to live it." Marcus stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the glittering city lights below. His mind was racing, calculating possibilities and making decisions with the same swift certainty he applied to business deals. But this was different. This wasn't about profit margins or market share. This was about something far more valuable, a young man's life, and the sister who refused to give up on him. He turned back to face Sophia. "I want you to give me all the information about Miguel's treatment. The hospital, the doctors, the specific procedures he needs, everything." Sophia looked up at him with confusion. "Mr. Sterling, I don't understand." "I'm going to help you," Marcus stated simply. "And before you protest, this isn't charity. Consider it an investment in one of my most valuable employees. You've dedicated yourself to this company, to helping me succeed. It's time I returned that dedication." "I can't accept that," Sophia protested, standing up. "It's too much. The costs are astronomical." Marcus walked closer to her, his expression serious but kind. "Sophia, I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. What good is all that wealth if I can't use it to help someone who truly needs it? Your brother deserves a chance at life, and you deserve to not carry this burden alone." Tears streamed down Sophia's face again, but this time they were mixed with disbelief and overwhelming gratitude. "Why would you do this for me, for us?" Marcus surprised himself by reaching out and gently placing his hand on her shoulder. "Because in the 1.5 years you've worked for me, you've never once asked for anything. You've been loyal, dedicated, and exceptional at your job. More than that, tonight I've seen the kind of person you truly are. Someone who sacrifices everything for the people they love. That's rare, Sophia. That's worth more than any business deal I've ever made." The following morning, Marcus arrived at his office before dawn, which was unusual even for him. He had spent most of the night researching Miguel's condition, contacting the best oncologists in the country, and making arrangements that would change the course of the Martinez family's life. His personal assistant, or rather his now former approach to life, felt like a distant memory. When Sophia arrived at 8 o'clock sharp, she found Marcus already in his office with David Chen, his business partner and closest friend. David, a sharp-minded strategist with a warm personality that balanced Marcus's more reserved nature, looked between his friend and the clearly emotional assistant with curiosity. "Sophia, please come in," Marcus gestured to a chair. "I've been making some calls." Sophia entered hesitantly, still processing the events of the previous night. She had barely slept, alternating between hope and the fear that she had dreamed the entire conversation. "I've arranged for Miguel to be transferred to Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York." Marcus began without preamble. "They have one of the best experimental treatment programs in the world. Dr. Sarah Richardson, who pioneered the specific protocol Miguel needs, has agreed to take his case personally." Sophia's hand flew to her mouth. "Mr. Sterling, that's one of the most prestigious cancer centers in the country. The waiting list alone is years long." "I made some calls," Marcus replied with a slight smile. "Miguel's medical records have been reviewed, and Dr. Richardson believes he's an excellent candidate for their latest clinical trial. As a trial participant, all treatment costs will be covered." David spoke up, his voice warm with approval. "Marcus also convinced me to have our foundation create a family support fund for situations like this. Your mother will receive assistance for travel and accommodation so she can be with Miguel during his treatment." Sophia couldn't hold back her tears. She stood abruptly, then seemed unsure what to do with herself. "I don't know how to thank you. This is beyond anything I ever imagined. You've given my brother a real chance at life." Marcus stood as well, his usual corporate demeanor softening. "There's more. I'm temporarily relocating you to our New York office so you can be near Miguel during his treatment. You'll maintain your current position and salary, but your responsibilities will be adjusted to allow you time with your family." "I can't let you do all this," Sophia protested weakly. though her eyes shone with desperate hope. "It's already done," Marcus replied firmly. "The transfer happens next week. Miguel moves to Memorial Sloan Kettering in 3 days." Over the following weeks, something unexpected began to unfold. Marcus found himself personally invested in Miguel's progress, calling for updates and even visiting the young man in the hospital. He discovered that Miguel was indeed brilliant, passionate about sustainable engineering, and possessed a humor and optimism that persisted even through the grueling treatments. During one visit, Miguel looked at Marcus with knowing eyes. "You care about my sister, don't you?" "I mean, really care about her, not just as an employee." Marcus, caught off guard, started to offer a professional response, but Miguel stopped him. "It's okay. Sophia deserves someone who sees how amazing she is. She's been taking care of everyone else her whole life. Maybe it's time someone took care of her." The words stayed with Marcus long after he left the hospital. He began to see Sophia differently, or perhaps more accurately. He allowed himself to acknowledge what he'd been feeling for months. Her strength, her compassion, her quiet grace under pressure, these weren't just the qualities of an excellent assistant. They were the qualities of an extraordinary woman. But complications arose. Richard Hampton, a senior executive at Sterling Industries who had long harbored jealousy toward Marcus's success, began spreading rumors about Marcus's special treatment of Sophia. He insinuated impropriety and suggested that Sophia had manipulated Marcus into providing expensive medical care for her family. Isabella Rodriguez, Sophia's roommate and best friend, warned her about the gossip during a late-night phone call. "People are talking, Sophia. They're saying terrible things about you and Mr. Sterling." Sophia felt her stomach drop. "But it's not like that. He's just being kind. I know that, but you need to be careful. This could damage both of your reputations." When Sophia confronted Marcus about the rumors, he was in a meeting with the board of directors. She waited outside his office, her anxiety building with each passing minute. Finally, Marcus emerged, and one look at her face told him something was wrong. In his office, Sophia explained the situation, her professional composure barely holding. "Maybe I should return to the original office. Maybe the transfer was a mistake. I never wanted to cause problems for you or the company." Marcus's expression darkened with anger, not at Sophia, but at the situation. "You're not going anywhere, and I'm not going to let petty gossip dictate my decisions or yours. But Mr. Sterling—" "Marcus," he interrupted. "When we're alone, please call me Marcus." Sophia looked up at him. Startled by the intimacy of the request, Marcus moved closer to her, his voice dropping to something softer, more vulnerable than she'd ever heard from him. "These past weeks, watching you with Miguel, seeing your strength and love for your family, it's made me realize something. I've been so focused on building an empire that I forgot what it means to build a life." "What are you saying?" Sophia whispered. "I'm saying that helping your brother wasn't just about being a good employer. It was about caring for someone who has become incredibly important to me. You've become important to me, Sophia." Before she could respond, Marcus's phone rang. It was the hospital. Miguel had taken a sudden turn for the worse, his body rejecting the treatment. They needed to try an even more aggressive approach, one that carried significant risks but offered the best chance for survival. The next 72 hours were a blur. Marcus and Sophia practically lived at the hospital, joined by Sophia's mother, Maria, who had arrived immediately upon hearing the news. Marcus found himself holding Sophia as she cried in the hospital waiting room, praying with Maria in the chapel, and sitting vigil beside Miguel's bed. David arrived on the second day, bringing food and changes of clothes. He pulled Marcus aside in the hospital corridor. "When did you fall in love with her?" David asked quietly. Marcus looked through the window at Sophia, who was sitting beside her brother's bed, reading to him even though he was unconscious. "I think it was gradual, then all at once. She walked into my life as an employee and somehow became the most essential part of it. Have you told her?" "How can I?" "She's going through hell right now. Confessing my feelings would be selfish, taking advantage of her vulnerability." David put a hand on his friend's shoulder. "Marcus, love isn't selfish when it's real. And sometimes people need to know they're loved most when they're going through hell." On the third day, Miguel opened his eyes. The new treatment was working. Dr. Richardson cautiously optimistic that he would recover. The relief in the room was palpable, and Sophia collapsed into Marcus's arms, sobbing with joy and exhaustion. Later, as Miguel slept peacefully and Maria dozed in a chair beside him. Marcus and Sophia found themselves alone in the hospital garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "I need to tell you something," Marcus began, taking Sophia's hands in his. "These past weeks have shown me that life is too short and too precious to hide behind walls of professionalism and fear." Sophia looked up at him, her heart pounding. "I've spent years building a business empire, convincing myself that success was measured in profits and power. But you've taught me that real wealth is measured in moments like these, in connections that matter, in having the courage to care about someone beyond yourself." "Marcus," Sophia breathed. "I love you, Sophia. I'm in love with you. I don't know when it started. Maybe that first day when you handled a crisis with such grace. Or maybe it was watching you carry an impossible burden without complaint. But I know that I want to be there for you, not just as your boss, but as someone who will stand beside you through every challenge and every joy." Tears streamed down Sophia's face. "I love you too. I've been afraid to even think it, let alone say it. But Marcus, I love you so much." He pulled her close and kissed her. A kiss filled with promise and hope and the courage to embrace a future neither of them had planned, but both desperately wanted. 6 months later, Miguel was in remission and had returned to his engineering studies with renewed passion and purpose. Sterling Industries had launched a new foundation specifically designed to help employees and their families facing medical crises, with Sophia serving as an advisor. Marcus and Sophia's relationship was no longer a secret, and while some had criticized it initially, the genuine love and respect between them won over even the skeptics. Richard Hampton had been quietly removed from the company after an investigation revealed his attempts to sabotage multiple projects, not just spread rumors. On a quiet evening, Marcus took Sophia back to her office where he had first found her crying. "Do you remember that night?" he asked. "How could I forget? It changed everything." Marcus knelt down on one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. "That night I found you in tears, and in trying to help you, I found myself. I found love, purpose, and a reason to be a better man. Sophia Martinez, will you marry me?" Through happy tears, Sophia whispered, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." As they embraced, both knew that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin in the darkest moments, when one person has the courage to care and another has the strength to accept that care. Their journey from boss and assistant to partners in life proved that true connection transcends professional boundaries and that the greatest wealth is not measured in dollars, but in the love we share and the lives we touch.